Good Wednesday morning. How are you? Hope you're doing good. Hope you're having some uh, great days. We've had some pretty good weather around here. Hope you're having good weather. I know this spring, so you just never know what you're gonna get, right? Kind of like life. You just never know what a day's gonna bring, right? Just never know. Give everybody a minute to get on while I'm waiting, and for everybody to kind of get on. Put out a plug for the First John Study Guide. We're going to start that May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. We finish up James Friday, this Thursday night. Tomorrow night will be our last session in James, and we're going to take the rest of April off to regather, and then we're going to take on First John. We'll probably sneak in Second and Third John too, but it's not really in the study guide. But they're only one chapter apiece, so we'll see how that goes as we get into First John. First John is an exciting book too. So is James. So is Ephesians and Colossians and Philippians and all of them, Genesis to Revelation, pretty much. Except nobody really likes Job too much. I do, but most people don't. But that's because most people don't get Job, right? They don't get the process that Job went through. But anyway, grab a study guide or a devotional, and there's more in the works. Lots of stuff going on in this poor little old head here, and lots of stuff going on in my heart. And so I just got to get my fingers to going on with some of the things that I've got going on, right? So, but there's lots of things coming up. I don't know. I got two or three things in the works and lots of ideas, and that's exciting. It's exciting. You never reach the end of God's word. You never. I heard one time somebody said, "Well, they read the Bible once. That's all they ever needed," and that's good, right? It's exceptionally well and a wonderful thing to definitely read the Bible through. But just because you read it through once doesn't mean you get it all. I don't really read other books much because I've already read the story. The end. I think I've read Francine Rivers' Redeeming Love twice, maybe. Other than that, I don't really read many books again, although I keep them on my shelf. Go figure that one out. I don't know. Anyway, I'm looking at a book selling app. I'm going to maybe sell some of my used books. I don't know. They're like your children, though. I think I'm going to go through my books and get rid of some of them. Well, I just don't have any I want to get rid of. So I actually spotted one yesterday. I might be willing to. But anyway, so, I don't really read many books over and over, except the Bible, because you could read it a million times, it seems like, and there's just always something new. There's something new in my life, so I understand something more fully, or even God is faithful to what He promised, and as we read it and study it, He opens it up in front of us, and He gives us little nuggets. He doesn't hide it from us, but He hides it for us. And so I love studying the Word, and we just never get through reading the word. We never get everything out of it because we can come back and get something again. And this morning, as I returned to a familiar psalm, my notes in the column, I was like, really? I guess I studied that. so so that was really cool too. So get a Bible you can write in. My Bibles, I write in, mark up, and put notes in the margin, and put question marks when I don't understand something, and use it. Use it. Let it come in. Let it come in you. I've talked about there's an aesthetic distance that we can have at a play, and we're really caught up in that play, but we are also very much aware that there's an aesthetic distance. It's not real, and we keep that aesthetic distance. But sometimes we read the word that way, and we hold it out there. We know it's real, we know it's happening, but it's over there. And I want to read the word without that aesthetic distance. I want to read the word with the and just let it come in and change me. Let it come in and mold my thoughts. Let it come in and change my heart and encourage my heart and give me peace so I can peace out. And that's what I titled this again today, because I have had a busy morning already. It's only 8, right? And I'm just like, man, today I need to practice that. I need to, all these things are coming to my mind. I've got all these things I need to do, all these things that need to be taken care of, all these questions about this and that and something else. And it's just, I've been bombarded the last few hours, and it's not anything bad, but there's still just so much and so much coming at me, and so many questions and so many this and that and something else. And I have to just stop and go, peace out, right? Peace out. Things will work out. Things will smooth out. We will live and be okay, right? And so in the middle of that, I go to Psalms. I actually started this morning in my devotions. I was reading Psalm 119. I love Psalm 119. Almost the whole psalm, almost every verse, David is saying, I just love the word. It's good for this. I just love the word. It's good for that. I'll follow your word with all of my heart because it's good for this. It gives us peace. It lights our path. It gives us wisdom. It enlarges our dwelling. The word is just good. If you could sum up Psalm 119, all however many verses it is, it's a bunch of them. I know there's more than 165 because I know what 165 says, right? Verse, great peace have they who love thy law, and nothing shall offend them. That's Psalm 119, 165. Great peace have those who love God's word. And that could be written word, spoken word, right? When we love what God says about stuff, we will have great peace. And so I was reading through Psalm 119. I was just thinking about how much he talked about and pointed to the word. He was saying, I love your precepts. I love your law. And there's just so much. And I was like, man, if we could just get a hold of that intense love for what God says, and we're not talking about the law in the terms of thou shalt nots, although there's none of those thou shalt nots we want to break, right? The Ten Commandments, which one did you want to break? Which one do you want to allow people to break? Don't love God with all your heart? You know, most of us don't keep a Sabbath. We don't even really know what that means anymore. We really don't. We got lots of stuff to do on the Sabbath, and so we don't. Maybe we don't keep that one. Maybe we'll auction that one off, right? But I'm not talking about a law of thou shalt nots, but I'm talking about his word, his ways, what he said here in his character, and that was all through, there were several verses in Psalm 119 too that pointed me back to Psalm 103 where it says Moses knew God's character. He knew who he was, and the children of Israel just knew what he could do. And I want to go beyond just knowing what God can do. I mean, he can do some amazing things, right? He created the world, this ecosystem. He created this body, which is a self-sustaining system, and how all the little organs work, all the big organs too, work together to make this thing function in our brain work, and we know to eat, and we know to exercise, and we know to do this, and we can learn how to read. And I mean, it's just an amazing system that he built just in this. Look at that, how weather just happens, right? Water, it goes evaporates up into the air, and then it goes and drops off, and it keeps the water, and then it's purified through the process, and then it comes back around. And there's no new water in the earth, so any water you're drinking, you may have somebody's drank it before. Isn't that a gross thought? I used to love grossing out my science students with that. There's no new water. The earth isn't making new water. It's just cleansed through the process of running over the rocks and or being evaporated and back down through the clouds, and all that stuff, right? But just the whole system, it just blows my mind. And then you can go beyond that and look at the whole universe and just go, wow. And I tell you who I love talking here. I love listening to Louis Giglio because he gets into all the sciencey part, but he puts it down so we can understand it. How little we really are in the scheme of things, and so we know that God does good things and big things, and even with the children of Israel, God parted the Red Sea. That ain't just nothing, right? He rained manna or bread down out of heaven and fed them. He had quail just fall in the camp, and they prepared those for a meal. He fed them. Besides the 10 plagues that he brought on Egypt, and he led them through the wilderness. And I mean, we know his deeds are magnificent. We know his deeds. We know what he can do is just marvelous. We just sit here and go, wow, open mouth, right? Wow, 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 wow. So what he can do is great, but I want to get to know him past that. I want to get to know him for who he is. See, many of you know me, you know what I do. I write, I do a devotion. Maybe I take care of Chris. Maybe me. But very few of you actually have taken the time, and time is my love language, by the way, have taken the time to get to know me. And so we can study this word, and please do. We can hide it in our heart, and it protects us, right, from sin. We can quote it when we need it. We can say, "Oh, great peace have they who love thy law, nothing shall offend them." Or, what time I am afraid, I will trust in you. We've got a whole book of declarations just out of Psalms, of declarations that we can grab and run out of the word. It's powerful. Timothy tells us it's good for instruction and reproof and teaching and so many things. So there's so many things, but I want to go beyond just rote memorization, right? And I want to know him for who he is, not just what he does. Isn't that an amazing thought? And so, with that in mind, I'm going to run over to Psalm 4 because that's really what I wanted to talk about. I'm almost done. I'm trying to hold this down. I've got past 10 a long time ago. I usually shoot for about 15 minutes now. But he says in Psalm 4, he says this: Hear me when I call, O God of my righteousness. You have relieved me in my distress. Have mercy on me and hear my prayer. Now, I looked those up in my handy dandy little Strong's Concordance that we can get on our phone nowadays. And it says, you have relieved me can also mean broadened. You've broadened the whole scope of my life. Knowing God broadens the whole scope of our life when we let him come into every area of our life. See, we like to keep him at church and just go visit him on Sunday. But when we let him come into the whole scope of our life, he broadens it. He brings us, I think some versions say he brings us into a wide place. We're not constricted. We're not restricted. We're not confined. He broadens us and brings us into those wide places, right? Broadens our heart, broadens our vision, broadens our thinking, broadens our everything, right? And then it says, you've relieved me or broadened me in my distress, and that's a tight place. You've broadened me in a tight place. It can feel like sometimes life is constricting. It can feel like sometimes life is just squeezing the breath out of us. Not every day, not all the time, right? But there's a lot going on in the world today. I mean, there's a lot. And it's too easy to give in to the crowd and become a complainer, and become a someone who judges, someone who's always putting them down because they don't think like me. I do it. It's so easy to do. But God wants to broaden us. If we look past all that and we look at him, we don't see all the yuck as clearly. We see him more clearly. And then we know how to deal with the yuck more clearly, right? More effectively, maybe that's a better word, right? So he broadens us. And then you read down through this psalm and I'm like, wow, this is really cool. Meditate in your heart on your bed and be still. Yeah, I do that when I go to bed at night. I turn everything, finally everything's off. I begin to just think of him. And sometimes I have to get back up and write stuff down because he says stuff. And that's awesome. And so then I'm reading on down through here. And the last verse of this psalm says this: I will lie down in peace and sleep. For you, alone, O Lord, make me dwell in safety. So ultimately, at the end of the day, we can peace out. At the beginning of the day, we can peace out. Anytime during the day that we need to, we need to do it all day. We just need to peace out. Trust him. Let him broaden our heart. Let him broaden our thinking. Let him broaden that hope that he gives us. Let him broaden our understanding of the love that he's poured out upon, lavish on us for no reason. We don't even deserve it, right? And yet he loves us because we're his. So I encourage you today to just meditate on his ways, but go past that. Meditate on who he is. Think about who he is, what he's done for you, for mankind, for all of us. He set us free. He broadens us even in a tight spot. We're never subjected to this world. Now we got to live here. We got to get along with people, and everybody ain't in here for our good. I agree. But he can broaden us even in a tight spot. He loves us even when we feel unloved. He gives us peace when the world is in turmoil. Right in the middle of all the craziness, we can enjoy his peace. We can Where'd it go? Lay down in peace and sleep, for he will keep us safe. That's an amazing thought. So I encourage you today to peace out, trust him for today, and I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day.